tab series. It's the third tab series that we've been having for this year. And this time we'll be discussing about architecture and planning, especially for the less privileged communities. And this is especially important for Cosentino, not only for Cosentino, but also for, on a broader spectrum, the industry in general. I'm excited to introduce Jan from Waito group, as well as our esteemed speaker, Trisha Lim from We Create Studio. And Trisha has the privilege to actually be working in less privileged communities all over the world. All over the world. And we have seen firsthand the impact of architecture and planning can have on a community, and the importance of designing with people in mind. This is very important for us. I hope that by the end of this talk, we will have a better understanding of architecture and planning that can have in less privileged communities, and how we can especially use it to make a difference. Yeah, so without further ado, I'll probably pass the mic over to Jan.
Thank you, Selim. Thanks a lot. Thanks for being here today. It's a pleasure to see you here in Cosentino. It's the third talk, as you mentioned, Selim, and thanks, Trisha, for being here. I'm really excited about the talk that you're about to give. But before that, I just would like to reintroduce a little bit the theme of this year for the third tab series. So give me a moment. I'll do that here. So this year we would like to focus on the commitment to the future of the planet and the people through the lens of sustainability, innovation, and materiality, which is very close to what Cosentino is advocating for as well. And that's why we were discussing about how we want to tackle this. It was evident that we will welcome architects like Trisha today. So we are in this post-COVID era where it has changed drastically the way that we live, the way that we work, the way that we play, and the way that we plan for the future. And that's why it's really important to learn from individuals that had an exciting life journey that we can be inspired by. So on that, just would like to remind a little bit about the background of Trisha. So you are an impact advocate, or you are an educator, you are the principal of your studio, We Create Studio, and you believe that design goes beyond the aesthetic, and that a thoughtful and sensible design process can address many critical social needs. In 2017, with your philosophy, your awareness, you embark into a new journey that you will share with us today, that I got to learn previously, and that was so inspiring for my own journey, and also for others that have been encountering that have been on your path. And then in 2019, you created We Create Studio, and to embark into more meaningful consultancy business. Today, the topic of your talk is doing good is not enough. We want to do good, we're human, we want to help each other, but it is not enough. And on that, why are we not creating a dent in the global poverty issues, even with billions and billions of dollars being put into humanitarian aid over the decades? I know very well about that because I tried myself to go into that field, and it is like extremely challenging. So you will share with us today your thought and perspective on these questions through your own journey. So I'm very honored, and we are very honored to welcome you today and to share with us your life journey through your own studio and all of the different elements that you have been created for Singapore and our region. Thanks again, Trisha.
Thank you, Selim, for introducing. I feel very honored to be so highly introduced. So my name is Trisha, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Please get your wine and your snacks on the corner. Feel comfortable if you haven't got to. Okay, so everyone, We Create Studio. I'm an architect. So born, bred in Singapore, spent a bit of time in Australia. Love backpacking, love cycling, love hiking. I'm super active. I can't sit still for too long. But this journey or this enthusiasm of mine about people, about differences in culture, kind of brought me to where I am in a way, I think. So I started in corporate for more than 10 years over there, and eventually I'm doing okay, got a good, decent income, I won't complain. But I felt that something was just missing, you know? Like, I think there's a lot I can do. I'm so energetic, I'm like an energizer bunny. Like, why am I spending so much energy rushing for deadlines day after day without seeing a purpose, a meaningful purpose of the outcome? I felt that's missing. And that's where I say, like, okay, I'll give myself 5 years, let's give it a try. And I was 35 then. So I'm 41, FYI. So 35 years old, I decided that I need to give it a try. What can happen? I restart all over again, right? So give myself 5 years, let's find out what we can get out from this journey. So I left the job, a very comfortable job, without any objective, no plans. I didn't even know where to start. I just know there's something missing. So 2017, I got Jan introduced, I left my job. I just went on this journey to seek answers, right? So this was one of the key turning points in my career. And really the key motivation that really drives me is there's a lot more we can do. And I think we can. I just don't know how yet at that point in time, to be honest. Okay, but the how is both scary and super exciting for me. So a lot of my friends say a bit crazy, but I think moving forward, I will never change my path again, even given a second chance. So how I started is that I knew I had to unlearn and put aside what my last 10 years of experience was bringing me. Because I know that I felt that somehow that could be a barrier instead of a value to add. I need to put aside what I already know first, unlearn all that I know, and start learning from scratch again from the communities. Because I feel that the communities have a lot of knowledge that they know, but maybe they don't know how to articulate the way we do. The way the education they have brought us to articulate, to think, to phrase our thoughts well. But they know a lot. They know, no one can know the environment better than the one who's staying in it. So they know a lot of resources, they know a lot of information, but they may not be able to portray it in media like the opportunity that we have. So I wanted to learn from them. So I went around for about a year, just going around in region, in Philippines, in Thailand, in Cambodia, in Indonesia, just staying around different areas. Short periods, sometimes long periods, sometimes months, sometimes weeks. I spent a fair bit of time in Myanmar borders for months. Every time I just come back to renew my visa and I go back again. To learn the stories from the communities. To learn the techniques that they built that we do not know enough of. To learn how to build in mud again, to learn how to build in bamboo again, to learn how to build in sandbags again. You know, basic things that we all started off, how we started buildings in the first place. So I wanted to learn all this, basically to put aside what I already know as a QP. So I'm a registered QP, meaning qualified person. So I'm a registered architect, but I need to put that aside for now. So at that point in time, I just keep learning and finding stories from the farmers themselves, talking to them, having chats with them, talking to local communities through sign language, even though there was language barriers, but it doesn't stop us from wanting to put on a smile and having a cup of coffee when they invite you, or tea or snacks, whatever they have in the house. So all those starts off conversations bit by bit. I can go to communities, Myanmar, time per time, but I don't think they know my name, but they know my face. They know my face. It's okay, doesn't matter, that's not important. They know my face, and they know we come in good faith, right? And we want to bring them more knowledge from there. So that's how I all started this whole journey. So moving forward, one of the key words that came to me is that architecture and design processes can be the means to design for social impact and not buildings. So what do I mean by that? The scheme of the building alone cannot deliver the impacts. It will probably bring that one step forward for a lot of communities with that scheme. But what they really need is that soul and the purpose of that building, right? So by involving the community in the whole entire design process, impacts can really be delivered or discovered or uncovered. So that's why we need to involve the communities, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how difficult the conversations can be through sign language, through imageries. You learn techniques, right? You play games with them. There's many ways of engaging. It doesn't always have to be interviews. It can be just having a tea with them, playing games with them, just pointing things, having food with them. In Asia culture, food is such a big source of conversations. Informal, but the best way to start talking, start conversing, right? So processes, to me, design processes, it's even more important than the scheme itself. Because through the design processes, we don't just uncover what the insights and the findings can be. We allow them to even uncover what they don't know, they thought was their day-to-day, but it's a big resources for them, opportunities for them. So this community engagement for us is a big factor in our company, and I advocate strongly for. So to me, without intentional planning with the communities, really architecture is just a scheme without purpose. What is the scope of a scheme without any education capacity? What is the purpose of a clinic if you have no capacity for vaccines and medicines? Right? So design through the processes can uncover what the education capacity can be, what the sources of opportunity for getting medicine can be. So to me, that's why I came up with the topic of today, doing good is just not enough. I think as Singaporeans are great people, among the places I travel are great people, great heart, because I felt that once you have the basic needs sorted out, that's where you can give more, usually. And we have the blessing to have the basic needs sorted out, right? We have the opportunity to get educated. We don't realize it, but having the opportunity to be education, to get through education is a blessing in itself. So we need to use this blessing to transfer more. We may have a good heart, but touch and go doesn't bring us too much. And I think you all have done enough. You have donated things, you have donated clothes, you have donated shoes, you have donated money, or whatever it is. It is important, but like I mentioned before, so much billions of dollars is pumping into the whole humanitarian work, but the dent is still there. It doesn't change things. I believe that whatever process we do with community, it has to go much deeper, much deeper. I'll share with you in a while what do I mean by much deeper. We need to be able to use architecture and design itself to create the impacts that we want to see. And I believe we can do that. And it's not the only way I'm saying. Just because I'm an architect, that's why I say architecture and design has the capacity. Whatever fields you are maybe in, maybe not designers, maybe designers, but every trade has its capacity and value to contribute. So I spent a fair bit of time spending time to guide the conversations with communities in the rural areas. Time consuming but very necessary, because at the end of the day, we are not a giver, we're just a facilitator. We facilitate things to happen. So facilitate with trust is a factor that takes time. Trust is not something I say, yes, please trust me. It doesn't work that way. Trust takes time, takes purpose, takes sincerity to get there, right? So, and I think that one of the things that we gain through, or my own learning, is that through this whole engagement process, we allow the communities to have inputs into the say, into the outcome of whatever's being delivered to them. So guide them to have more thinking about looking at just delivering a scheme. Most communities that come to me say, can you build me a school? Can you build me a clinic? Can you build me this? But they don't realize that the school or a clinic or any community center will not mean much without the capacity to maintain it and to sustain it. So when we bring that into the process of design, they gain ownership. At the end of the day, we are just facilitated, that I mentioned before. We need to hand over the whole project to the community, and with the confidence that they can carry on the project where we left off. The construction of the building, the completion of the building is not the end of the project, it's just the start of everything. So we have the responsibility as designers to bring the whole process after the completion of the project for it to be carried on. And not just at the end of the delivery of the project, of the scheme. This is a very important factor that we spend a fair bit of time on. And so because of that, by teasing out all this conversation, by teasing out all this ownership and trust, okay, we can bring out what I believe innovation at its best. Okay, it may seem mundane, it may seem subtle. So this picture is always in my head. So it's at the Myanmar borders with the Hmong tribe. So these two boys is not from the refugee camp, but they are from displaced families at the Myanmar borders. But I don't even think the toys are amazing. It's all made out of whatever they can find from the surrounding. So wheels that don't match, but it's whatever they can find from the refugee. Bamboos they are familiar with, they can work with. Sticks they can find on the streets. Don't you think it's better than the one you can find from the shops? And they made it themselves. And they're so proud of it when they wheel it down the street. when they came walking towards me. So because I wanted a picture with me. So I think this is innovation. Innovation is not about just creating fancy new things, but innovation is creating new things with what you have in hand and use it at its best. That to me is innovation. So to me, these two boys are great innovators. If you can just tap on that interest of them, I think they can build even more creative things. You don't even give them too much, because innovation is about the mind, how you spin things, how you flip things around with whatever is given to you, I think. So in the subsequent slides, I will kind of share what my last, I would say 5, 6 years of journey, and what I came to kind of round up what we can be doing, which is also the mission and the philosophy behind We Create Studio that we do, that I think not just architects, but designers or any professionals that you are at can kind of adopt in your work. So one thing is, whatever we do, I think we need to think about impacts that we want to drive at its core. What do we want to deliver with this building? What do we want to deliver, not as in deliver the building, but what is after that building that's still being delivered? What's the true impact? It's not the scheme. It's a lot more than that most of the time. What is the impact that we want to drive? So this is one of the first few projects I did for the Karen Hill tribe at the Myanmar borders. So Tinido village, I don't even know if I spell it correct or not. It's at the Karen state. It's at the border with the Myanmar and the Thai borders. So the foreground here is the new school. The background here is the old school when it first started. So I'm fast forwarding a lot of conversations that I've been through a lot of years. So through this school, right, it doesn't do anything fancy. But I tell you, this is one of the most proud buildings the whole village can have. It's the only building with power. They are totally off-grid. And I don't know if you know the story, the political situation in Myanmar. So there's a lot of civil wars going on for more than 50 years right now, with the Burmese soldiers, with the Karen, with the Hmong, with so many tribes on its own. So to me, it was like an old Chinese dynasty, the Three Kingdoms, where a lot of dynasties were trying to fight their own space and their own rights. So this is still ongoing, and the Myanmar borders just don't see as much on main media, but it's still ongoing. I still go in every now and then, but I was a bit stuck during COVID. So now the land border is opening up. Even though the air borders are open, the land border is still closed. It will be opening up soon. So we're going to restart some of the roads over there. But it's really completed. So this little project doesn't look anything much, but I tell you, the student was so proud of the school. Every morning, apparently, according to the teachers, they'll come here at 5:30 a.m. to clean up the classroom. That's how proud they are. So slowly, they also, this was 2019, this photo was taken in 2019. They started planting more trees now during COVID, because this is the part they take ownership of. You can never tell anyone to take ownership of anything. Ownership is to be gained inside your heart. It's not something to be told. So they gain ownership through the building of the process. This whole entire school was built by the community themselves. There was no main contractor, there was no subcontractor, there was no vendors involved. It's all done by the contractor. So how we come in is that we develop what they need. Usually for a lot of rural communities, they don't know how to articulate what they want that clearly. Usually that's the case. So we need to tease out what they want through conversation I mentioned earlier, through gameplay, to time. Right? That's why we develop very simple spaces, what they need, and a flexible space for their community gathering hall, which they didn't even realize they need. So it was quite funny. One of the things that happened was that, so in front of this area here, there was a huge, gigantic tree, much bigger than all these big trees. It's like a huge rainforest tree. So I thought that was the most beautiful tree. When I came there, right, it was so beautiful. They were playing the kids were playing soccer, playing badminton, playing sekatara over there. I don't know, like a straw ball kind of thing, right? So they were enjoying the space under the tree because they don't have much shade over there. So I thought we'll keep that tree as part of the outdoor of the school, right? So we value nature like this. So the funny thing is that while building the school, right, I told them, the orientation, so we don't determine a lot of things. We tell them the principle is, let's orientate your school with high volume on the windward direction of your location. You will know where the windward direction better than me. Where should it be? So they say, let's face the valley. That is the best wind all year round, they tell you, right? So okay, let's face all year round. So the next thing that happened was that, then I went back to Singapore, right? Then they sent me a photograph. The whole tree disappeared. They chopped down the whole tree. So then one thing I took away was that what we value is very different from a culture that trees all around them and went through civil war for decades and decades and generations. The value that what they treasure is very different from what we value. So the differences, I won't say it's a bad thing, but it was awareness gained, right? Small thing like big rain trees is what we will probably will keep, but for them they just chop it down like nobody's. So they use it for wood fire and whatever which of the household will take away. So I was a bit shocked, a little bit disappointed, but it was a learning point for me. So that tree was one thing I learned about value of things across cultures. That was one of the big stories, and it was quite funny. And slowly I also learned techniques of construction from them. We don't use rebar over there because rebar is expensive, so they use bamboo strips as ties. So it's very, for architects, it's very cost savings. But in Singapore, not allowed. Okay, but in community, everything can be done. So you learn construction techniques through them also. I didn't know all this, they taught me. They taught me all this. Right? So, of course, at the end of the day, we achieved certain spaces. We had a lot more classrooms. So the old place, they didn't have partition for classrooms. They had 4 corners for classes. So now they have 6, because that's what they requested. They say, usually most kids, they want to hope to get to grade 6. So 6 classrooms, 6 grades. That's all they can max. They want to continue, they have to go into town. And most of them cannot afford the money to go into town to continue their studies. A lot more veranda space is one thing we observe. Every household has a veranda space outside where every family will gather. So it was a very important factor. They didn't realize they needed, so they enjoy a lot over there. And then also community spaces. 3 of the classroom can be combined to become a huge communal space. They didn't request for this, but what you observe is that they always squat outside the sun to have conversation, village meetings. So some things is observations that they don't need to tell you also. As an architect or as a designer, you need to be able to observe. It's another trait of designing, right? Observations. So when they realize this, so this bar is the one that can allow very simple, just door panels to take in and out. They were happy about it. Septic tank sounds very simple, but they love it a lot. They usually poo everywhere in the forest. So we have a septic tank to have a proper toilets for privacy, especially for ladies, right? They enjoy it a lot. And of course, as I mentioned, it's the only building with electricity. So a lot of our students during exam period, they all come here to use the light bulbs in there to study. That's what I've been told. But right now, because maintenance, again, this is the next story I want to tell. Even when you pay them the school capacity, they don't know how to maintain the building. So the solar panel broke down, the battery broke down. We use a car battery. Battery broke down, nobody knows how to fix during the COVID. That's exactly what I mean. You can give them the skill, but you don't get the capacity to build, to educate, to learn to fix things, to learn to maintain a building. It will still be just another skill. So that's why we went on to phase 2, what we call phase 2 of the learning village. Same place, but skill set development program. We realized that we need to interject. We need to give them the opportunity to look beyond the scheme of the school. So then they won't fully understand what they mean, but they know this is needed. So basically we tied up with, so this is the rural area at the border of Myanmar and Thailand. We tied up with Yangon schools to give them carpentry. This is what they want to do. So the guys wanted to do carpentry and mechanics skills. The girls there gets married very young. Usually by 17, 18, 19, they're mother of 1 or 2 already. That's very common. So they want to have opportunity for income while taking care of the kids. That's how I express. And the older women, usually, they just want to share their knowledge. Okay, so that's why we tie up with schools in Yangon. So we have skill set development program, carpentry, mechanical works. For the ladies, the weaving was and knitting was which they requested for. I felt that it was important that their own local women teach them that skill. It's surprising, I don't know if you know, but a lot of these Indo-China communities, weaving is their traditions. It's the same for them. But because this community or this border community has been civil war and they're all displaced family for many years, there's a whole entire generation that is born into civil war. They already lost all their skill sets and a lot of traditional knowledge already. So at first I was finding a bit strange, why are they asking me to give them the capacity to weave? I thought it should be their tradition. I realized this was a story told because they have lost all this knowledge. So I thought it was important. So we engaged, there's a UN camp over there, Banyong camp. So there was a lady who knows how to weave and can speak their language. So we engaged her to go back to the community to teach them weaving. But again, that didn't continue because COVID started, and then they don't have money to buy the loom. Loom is the one that makes the cloth. They don't have money to buy the loom, and nobody taught them how to make the loom. So stop there. So we're trying to revive this after COVID now. So that's why I really say that the whole process has to go beyond the scheme and to gain trust, building trust. We don't talk about this in design process, but building trust is very important. Just like how we build trust with our clients, that's how we build trust with contractors, how we build trust with the consultant in order to work well. Very subtle, but very important. So the next thing I'll talk about is empathy, being empathetic. Nobody needs sympathy from us. Nobody needs sympathy from us, but we can offer a lot of empathy in the whole design process. I believe that true empathy is a skill that allows us to understand and share the same feeling of the users or of the beneficiaries of the building that we're going to build. And empathy has the power for us to design well. So one of the stories that one of the projects that I'm going to share about is called Hello Empathy. So Hello Empathy started off with as a design research work for us in the company. It's a one-year design research with the autism community in Singapore. It started off, I honestly, before this whole research, I don't even know what is autism. Honestly, I know the word autism, but what is really autism, right? I really don't know. The whole company, nobody knows. But it doesn't stop us from wanting to find out the answers and to see where design can fill the gaps. So we did a 3 weeks design sprint in 2020. In 2020, with random designers, agencies, SG Enable and all. So to have conversations, to have focus group discussions to talk about where they understood design and for special need is. So conclusion is a big gap. It's a big gap. Especially good design. I believe good design can solve problems. It's not just design, good design can solve problems. So there was a big gap. So we embarked on this design research supported by Design Singapore Council to understand the gaps and building our capacity to design well for special needs community. Honestly, I started off without knowing anything, not even the word autism. So when I started, right, we were all shocked because we didn't realize, we knew but we didn't know that autism is an entire spectrum. I don't know if you understand this term. So it's an entire spectrum. So autism can be someone that you can see them on the street, vocalize well, super genius, super intelligent, but it can be on the autism spectrum. And then those on the other end of the autism spectrum who totally need 100% support from caregivers. Okay? And there are those with autism who can verbalize their experience with fragments or words, and there are those who cannot even verbalize what they want or need. So when we do design research with them, it was so challenging. So it was you cannot just go there and do interviews with them. They won't understand. They give you something else, they probably run away and can't find them. So we had to employ different techniques of engagement. We had to use the word play. We play with them. So we played Lego, we played a little bit of hide and seek, observation, come hide and seek, basically seeing how they interact. We played sketching, to ask them to sketch their favorite toys in the house and explain the stories. Through their own stories, if they can verbalize, for some of them, you will understand a little bit deeper about the needs they have in their households and in their environment. It's very subtle one. So we asked one of the kids to draw camera. So the one that was to draw camera. Draw what you think your camera will capture. So one boy drew literally a camera. So one boy draw a camera that is sitting on a table or something like that, with his dad, with a stick man or with his dad sitting on the back. So his memory is his dad is always sitting in the corner watching TV, basically ignoring him. So as I can't share more because it's a bit personal, some of the stories. But through the stories, we got to know where everyone is at with the students with autism. And then we also, for the person with autism on the highest needs, we couldn't converse with them at all. So we realized we need to extend to the extended ASD community. ASD meaning autism spectrum disorder. So ASD community. In other words, they're caregivers. The caregivers is the most important for the higher needs person with autism. So we had a lot of talks with the moms and dads and sisters and brothers and best friends. It was all tearing moments. Very, very challenging for us to stay empathetic without being sympathetic. It was so important, but it was necessary. And you also have to volunteer our time through observations. There's many techniques of engagement. So observations instead of direct engagement to understand how they interact with their space. So as a designer, we need to understand how they interact with their space. So this is the wall of explorations through our different engagements. Visuals is most powerful, I think, without words. There are a lot of things that can be spoken with visuals without using absolute words, even more than what we think of. So this was a exploration walls or mosaics of explorations that was put together with all the interviewees that we came across, verbal and non-verbal. Verbal and non-verbal. Okay, the words below is what we try to capture from the conversations. Okay, nothing shocking. I think you all probably know from the social media and follow the conversations. Some of you a bit shocked for some of them, but I think it's all something that you can understand and comprehend. And something maybe some of us can do in whatever aspect you are. This wall, to us, is a very powerful wall. And from there, we started to do empathy mapping. I won't go into the details of this, but basically trying to capture from the various interactions that we have into quality of feelings. Quality of feelings. We talk about feelings at an emotional level, but quality of emotions needs to be translated in order to deliver and design outcome. So to here, it was one of the most important takeaway. There's a whole content, okay, you can find out on helloempathy.com, we have a website for it. It's also further developed into a card game to promote, not to focus on special needs, but to focus on the diversity of our environment to design well at the end of the day. We don't need to design specially for special needs, but we need to design for the diversity of society. It's certainly the twist. You don't need to categorize them. We are all special in a different, our own way, right? We all have a little quirks and little preference in our way. So that's where we come up with the game Hello Empathy. I'll have a short video to share about this. The volume is not showing. I think you can get it from the caption. Sorry. No, that's the music from here. Okay. I don't music already.
We replay it again.
Oh, okay. I don't know how to switch on the beat audio. Okay, so basically, there's a whole set of 1 year worth of research. That's why how we jump from really interacting with a community with autism to a card game that talks about diversity and inclusiveness. So this one, please go to our website to find out more. This one is another conversation my own. But I think being empathetic in our design processes is very important. Even in our commercial work, I think it will bring a lot of value to your clients and the consultants that you work with eventually. So last thing I want to talk about is future looking. Actually, I think it's even more apparent that we need to look into this even in our day-to-day work. Especially in Singapore, one of the future-looking conversations about technology gaps, right? Technology and designs and the space we use. But in the community level, it's even more important to the future. Communities that we have worked with has been in cycles of poverty, cycles of struggles for decades, years that you cannot count, depending on where they are, right? So they're always looking for change. They're looking for change, but they don't know how most of the time. So important that designers have this mindset of looking forward to them. And being a Singapore designers, we have the blessings of information. I don't know if you realize, compared to many countries, access information, you are able to think critically also with the information given to you. How can we use that to advantage as designers to look into more forward-looking planning? So one of the projects that I will touch upon is this project in Nubra Valley. Nubra Valley is on the Indian Himalayan side, Ladakh, so northern part of India. So the Ladakis, we call them Ladakis. So Ladakis women are very vocal in what they want. So they are Tibetan by heritage. So I don't know if you know enough of Tibetan, the male and female has quite equal say about things they want. So the Ladaki women wants to look for income capacity to sustain their family as much as what the male does. So it's a bit different from our traditional Chinese culture. So when they came to us is that can we build a hot spring pool for them, literally hot spring pool for them. So in the Himalayas, the geography is that you have a lot of hot thermal geography underneath the Himalayas. So with that, they make use of the hot spring water to run their buildings. So literally the whole slab is cast in hot pipes, cast in. So we're running hot water. So during winter, harsh, dry winters, they stay warm. They have no technology like that. So then I was thinking, okay, hot spring pool. So I went to the site, right? When they brought me here. So this building here is a hot spring pool built by the government for the Ladakhi women. Then I went in there. I'll not even jump into the water. It was quite bad. It was quite bad. I don't know if you all those enjoy sauna in hot spring in Japan, right? The sulfur smell is powerful, super powerful. And then if you don't maintain it, you don't let it circulate, you don't let it maintain it. So the sulfur and the ammonia will just stay there. So the whole room was full of sulfur and ammonia. You don't even stay there. So the government can give them a scheme for the building, but they don't know how to maintain. They don't know how to run a business. So what's the use? They have it already. They don't need another hot spring pool. You don't need a foreigner to come in to tell them how to build a hot spring pool. They know how to do it, right? But what they need was how to run the business, right? So I find a bit of contradicting. So when we had that conversation, we realized that, right? So we brought them forward. This was in 2020. So we brought them forward. So I literally asked them, you already have a hot spring pool. What do you need me as a foreigner to come in and build a hot spring pool where I know nothing about hot spring pool? Right? But what I can bring value to you is maybe we can think a little bit bigger. Okay, not just for a Ladakhi woman yourself now. You can design something for your next generation and your kids to sustain it. How about that? How about a wellness center? Okay, a destination, Nubra Valley. So Nubra Valley, the setting of the bit of geography is that it's this kind of adventure track, right? Most of them are Indian, they're local tourists. Huge Indian tourists who goes there for pilgrimage visits. A lot of Harley Davidson's motorists who go there to challenge their motors, whether they can go up that, I think 5,000 over meters past. Some super challenging thing. So a lot of visitors. But nobody was there at Nubra Valley because there was no facilities to support that. So the opportunity is already there. How about we design a wellness destination? Then the hot spring pool could be an add-on to that. It will really drive more than just a hot spring pool that you will just be another what your government has given you. So they bought it actually. I sold the idea. So they will agree with it because later on they were just giving me information because they realized that, oh, I have this village who makes lavender oil, who makes, I don't know what oil flowers, I'm not very good at flowers, different kind of oil from the Himalayas. And then they will tell you, say, I have this family who makes salt to sell to cosmetic companies. I have this company or this family company who sell hot spring, package it to sell it to make cosmetic again. There's a big cosmetic industry over there. So different families are doing the little things. If we can just tie all the dots and link them up into a wellness destination for Newbrow Valley, you don't just benefit the woman, you benefit the entire village. So they just need a system design behind it and just a wellness hub to make that as a satellite for visitors to come in and package. You all have traveled before, know how things work. You just need to go to a hub, you don't know a place, I just want to do this, so can you tell me where to go? That kind of thing, right? So from a hot spring pool to become a wellness destination, this is the kind of vision that we are trying to tell, right? And this is the kind of vision we need to set them aspiration for. So right now, where this project is with the Indian government, they're trying to get sponsored, get funding from Indian government. They're trying to do this PPP program, public-private partnership program, where the public, that means themselves, can give them the knowledge and sponsor part of the money. The committee will come together to drive whatever money they can get. The government will give them the money, part the rest of the 50%, I think, or 60% of the money, and the opportunity to build that area in the area. So this is where it is right now. Still clearing the India Tourism Board for this. But it's very possible. And this is the kind of, I think, narration we need to bring across as designer and the capacity that we can bring. The creativity brought to a different level and not just creative in aesthetics. Creativity in solving problems, giving opportunities. So another project that we do, we spend a fair bit of time on, which is also in construction right now, is in Singapore. So this is a Hakka association. For those who are not familiar, Hakka is a Chinese clan. One of the many Chinese clans, Hakka is one of the minorities in Singapore. So this is their headquarters in Geylang, in construction now. So we went through a competition in collaboration with my friend at Pros Architects. The main thing I want to bring out of this is that if you're those who are in clans or in whatever ethnic groups you have, there is this need to bring in the younger generations to think forward. Okay, just think of your own clan. Okay, for me, it's Teochew. So my Teochew clan. My Teochew clan, you see a whole row of seniors sitting at the committee level, and you go, that's so boring. Because I cannot relate to them. And then the thinking is always about addressing culture, giving classes. But what we're looking for is a young Teochew. I'm looking for more. I want to interact with my Teochew culture, but I really cannot speak the Teochew language anymore. I cannot understand the culture anymore. But what more can I come in to interact, right? So we work with the community, the Hakka Association, which they didn't even know they need. And they also need income. Every clan is all depending on donations. I don't know if you know. They also need income. So how about they want to focus on well-being of their own people? How can we make this into a business that they can rent out as a wellness hub for the entire? We think clan building as a wellness hub to entice the younger generations or even the older generations to come in together to interact for whatever programs there is. So there's a whole technicality to it, but well-being design, architectural design, economic design as a singular point consolidated into this building. It was a concept that kind of shocked the panels. It was a design competition. We didn't expect it, and when we got into the competition, we spent even more time engaging a lot of workshops, working with the different stakeholders to develop their spaces. We don't just, here I have option 1, option 2, option 3. Yes, I have this option. What do you think of this? So we have a lot of discussions on this. It was chaotic, but it was, everyone had their say. Apparently there are 6,000 members in this clan. I think we probably engaged about 100 people in the whole entire workshop. Very tiring, but everyone had a say. We talked about ownership earlier. Everyone gained ownership to develop the space that they want to use. Their karaoke corners, their gardening corners, their food corners, their TCM traditional Chinese medicine corners to grow their own herbs and all. We didn't even know they needed that, but they were putting information into this so that we can develop and design together with them. So by involving and collaborating with their clients like this, the stakeholders have a chance to be part of the design process. They gain ownership, they give you the trust over time too in the design process of it. So I'm going to end off my slide, last one. Looking into the future, since this topic about future. I think future don't have to look so scary. it can start from the smallest thing that we know, by understanding what you offer as whether if you're designers, you're professionals, going beyond the output, but the outcome, the difference between output and outcome in the traits that you can offer in giving a change. It doesn't have to be big also. You don't have to go into rural communities like this. It's very tough. You have no cold water. You'll be having diarrhea for days. It's quite normal. I'm still having diarrhea every time I go into the border areas. To look at real innovation, what real innovation is to me. It doesn't have to be high-tech. Innovation to me is, what do you have right now in your hand? How can I best use it to my purpose? Innovation can happen on a daily basis in the village level, in the most obscure corner, in the kitchen or in the toilet or in the forest that they play with. Right? So I think Singapore being a center of many third world countries around us, we can be the hub to use design to inspire. Why don't we call a design inspiration hub instead of an economic hub, right? Design hub. Singapore being a design hub. That we can offer solutions, we can offer innovation, bring creativity to the next level of solving problems and not just creating spaces for the sake of creating spaces. And to me right now, I'm just putting it out there, I don't have an answer yet. With technology coming in to our space, can we use technology to tap even further into community building and designing? I'm still learning. I don't have a clear answer yet, but I think there is space for it. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you. We can continue listening to you and to share all of your stories. You can sit down.
Oh, I haven't bored of you yet.
And okay. Before I start with questions, I just would like to share with the audience. So we curated and designed an exhibition for the Good Design Research for Design Singapore, and Trisha being one of the GDR recipients. So we designed an exhibition for Hello Empathy. And as part of it, of course, understanding, and I did a lot of my work, I had to understand what Trisha was doing. But then when the exhibition came up, I was just looking at the exhibition, and some of your team invited me to play the game. I was, oh no, I'm not going to do it. It's okay. I know exactly what is it about. But actually, I didn't know what it was about. And it was a moment that was amazing. You are with people that you have no idea about, that really were just passing by, and you play this game with them, and you start to open your heart and talk about very personal elements, and to understand what autism is. And that was such a big eye-opener as a designer, to understand the world that is surrounding us and what we can provide to others. And that's why when I started my talk saying, in the introduction to your talk, sorry, saying that, you inspired me, I don't say it lightly. You truly inspired me. That very day, I shared a very personal moment, and these people could help me just due to that game. And until today, it is something that was so strong that I'm still utilizing every time I design. So yes, you are advocating many things, and yes, you are, I would say, an activist. This is a social activist, but beyond that, and through the different fantastic projects that you have shared with us, you are an enabler. Enabler for people to contribute and to feel free to contribute and to not be afraid in doing so. And even in the last slide that you shared with the different stakeholders, you enable them to share their voice. And it is something that we tend to forget in our built environment, that as architects and designers, we are here to enable others to have this sense of freedom and sense of agency to contribute. So that was just a bit of an introduction to this Q&A, to thank you deeply for what you are bringing to us, to Singapore, and to our region.
Thank you.
So
basically, you had to play Hello Empathy, which is the card game that we did with the autism community. some things just cannot be put into words. You just experience it. I'm not selling koyo or trying to sell my product, but you really just have to play it and you understand a little bit more.
I just have a very first question on maybe like it's a personal question. I don't know if you will answer to it, but what triggered the fact that you left the corporate world? Because you say that you wanted to do more, you wanted to do different, but like, were there anything special in your corporate environment that triggered this life-changing moment?
Honestly, I'm not going to make it sound sexy, but there isn't. I've always been enthusiastic about volunteering since I was a student, in uni student. So I would do volunteering through monetary, through cycling, fundraising, and all, like I mentioned. But it's always through funds, usually, and efforts that I can do within the full-time job skill. But then I came to a point, not because I turned 35 or any midpoint or midlife crisis. I just came to a point where it's getting a bit boring. It's getting a bit boring, and I can do more. I mean, honestly, the whole conversation is I have no mortgages, I have no boyfriend then, I'm not married, I have no kids, I don't own a car, I don't even buy any investment packages. So why am I not seeking out what I want to do? So what can I do? I just work at Starbucks again now if I really need money. I've done it before, I can do it again. I work in McDonald's, I work in Starbucks, I work in hotel operators. I did everything that needs to be done when I was younger. I had a lot more energy. So why can't I do it again? What else can it be? Just because I can. That's how non-sexy it is.
Okay, thanks. No, but it is as non-sexy as it can be. It is something that can be indeed inspiring to say, wow, okay, you did that and change your life and contribute with many other things. The way that you're explaining whatever you've been doing seems simple, evident. Well, okay, I go to the Myanmar border, I built a school, I go to Ladakh, I built these facilities and so on. What are the biggest challenges that you faced in this moment? Were there moments where you were totally lost and you were like, wow, that's tough. What am I doing here? Like from Singapore, like, did you face those really difficult moments and how did you overcome them?
I was freaked out all the time, actually, to be honest. It was less terrifying for me in the beginning because I give myself milestones in my life. I told myself 5 years, right? So what can happen after 5 years? Just come back to a job. I'll just be slower than other people, get lower pay. It's okay. I can survive. Like the first year was just unlearning. So it's a little bit more fun, no expectation and all. But by the time I reached my third year, again, I gave myself milestone. Third year, I must find the direction and do something. Because I came across so many people in my life, inspiring but talented, inspiring, super intelligent, super creative, but I found that there was a bit of disappointment that they did not translate all this capacity into something beneficiary to the society. So I made myself not to slack too long. So I gave myself third year, I must be able to find a purpose to the work that I'm doing and not just enjoying the moment of just traveling and all. It's a very good experience. So by the time I reached second year, third year, I was getting a bit pressure because I realized that, hey, I'm coming into a community and like, wow, the weightage is the responsibility is very high. Because the moment you step in, you give your word, you give the integrity to deliver it. You cannot disappear anymore. And you make sure it works. You don't even know what you're supposed to do to make it work. And remember, I was also in my own journey to uncover things too. So now it's getting a little bit easier because, I won't say easier also. It's a little bit easier because I could see a certain clarity to what the gap is. When you're looking for the gaps, when you cannot even find the gaps, that's a super scary part. And the responsibility weightage, when you face a community they're dealing with, you promise them a school, you make sure you deliver them a school. That is so scary. And you don't even know what you're doing out there in the middle of the years. So I think the weightage of the responsibility had not lightened in any of our work, especially with the community. The next project going on soon is equally heavy and scary. Especially, we know that what we know is not what we want to deliver. We don't just want to deliver a school again. To deliver what we know is easy. In Singapore, I hear you usually 30K, 40K, you can build a school in any rural area. Good school, good quality school, good structure. 30K, 40K, you can easily raise it in Singapore. But you don't just want to deliver a school, you do more than that. That's scary. You don't even know how. You go into the community, I'm going to build a school and I'm going to do even more. So that responsibility has always been a constant pressure, to be honest. But I find it a challenge also. If I'm not scared, I'm not challenging things, then I'm going back to status quo. Then I'm not changing anything at all. Then back to square one, right? You know what? So for me, it's like, since I left a comfortable job, right? And to get a super low pay cut right now for myself. So why bother get to square one and not trying to do something that I really want to do, right? So that was my own self-conversation. So yeah, since you're out here already, just do it. I mean, of course we share the whole learning experience together with the community, so they all know where we are. We also share the responsibility to make the project work with the community themselves. So it's a co-working relationship. It's very important. So of course that angle and that capacity lightens the capacity a lot and even gain more trust along the journey. So the exchange is always back and forth. It's never clear-cut. And this exchange of ownership of the progress of the work, I think is a very healthy relationship to have.
Thanks for sharing that. And in your career, being an architect, being a QP in Singapore, studying, doing long studies to become an architect, do you think that being an architect enabled you to have this deep system thinking? Because we are used to deal with many complex matters of different scales, constantly like jumping from one scale to another, and to deal with so many different aspects of our profession. Did that help you? Because you talked a lot about like system design to solve problems. Do you think that this is the ability of an architect to be this like system thinker?
Oh yeah, I can't agree more. I don't have any architects here on the floor. Okay, one. Very good, yay.
I feel everything what you feel.
So we are problem solver, right? Designers in general are problem solver. Agree? We are solving what the user needs, putting all their needs together, putting all the expectations together. We are problem solvers. And the challenge is how can we solve problems creatively? And even next level, pushing it innovatively. Right? It's the same design thinking process. It's just that right now you don't look at the skin of it, you look at the whole entire system of it. So I think that being trained as an architect, also as a QP myself, it does help with the thinking process. And the need to constantly challenge status quo helps overcome that fear. So I think creativity can be adopted not just aesthetics, but on problem solving, on system planning and thinking, to tie complexity to singularity. Or maybe not singularity, to simpler terms, I think. So I think that's the power of creativity, not just for architects.
And when you were in these like villages and remote regions, were people seeing you as an architect, or just as a problem solver, or just as someone coming from this tiny island named Singapore? How people were perceiving you? Women from Singapore, architects. So, like, how were they welcoming you in their communities?
I don't know if you all travel backpacking and all. The word architect is not a traditional indigenous language in most languages. There's no such word called architects. There's a word for builder, usually, but not the word architects. So don't even know architect. And most of the rural villages I go to don't even know what's architects, which is not important at all. Okay, it's not important at all. But just like any rural communities, I find that they are so warm. They are the nicest people you go to because they will just greet you with whoever you are. They just greet you because you are a foreigner to their village. Right? They'll just smile at you, or even if they know you. Because I go, some of the villages, I keep going back there. When I first got to know them, they are like, just smile at you. They don't know, and a lot of them has language barrier. So, but usually they are welcoming. For all the years that I've traveled and backpack, right? Usually the rural communities are the warmest person. least judgmental, to be honest. So I have no issue with that. And the fact that being a woman, the next thing I realized, I'm coming here to build something. Then I think, usually they are builder in a lot of rural area is male. Carry all the wood and steel. That's how I think of builder. Okay, I cannot carry steel 6 meters long, cannot. So I'm a woman. And in a lot of rural areas, it is still happening right now. Girls aspire to be teachers and nurses. This is the two main traits in a lot of rural communities. That's the furthest they think they should achieve. It's not saying it's bad, okay, being teachers and being nurses, but that's the only two things they think that girls can achieve and should be achieving. They don't even see that the girls can do something beyond that. I don't know if you all can apprehend that. It's something that only when you go to the villages you can see, because it's an occupation that they can see. Girls doing it. Nurses, teachers. So women coming in, a foreign woman coming into their village, trying to build them something, they're not very sure. But over time, usually most of the time, I'm gonna mention, most of the time they are not so judgmental in the rural area. You are a little bit more transparent, I find. They will learn to accept you for who you are. But trying to convey the bigger vision is the harder part. Because in many communities, if you're working for your day-to-day, right, you won't think very far. You just think, next day, where's my meal going to come from? Okay, next month, my kid is going to be born soon. Where are you going to get the money from? Okay, next dry season coming soon, I have to look for work. Then wet season, I come back. They usually go seasonal, day-to-day, weekly, very short-term. You cannot think very far. So to change mindset is the hardest challenge I face in communities. Designing is the easy part. Changing mindset together with us to write this journey together is the hardest part, I find. And it takes time, and it takes trust, and it takes a lot of empowerment to them and ownership for them to gain the confidence that they thought they do not have. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Trisha. Do you have any questions?
I just want to say congratulations. I really like the way, because I feel like, no, it's okay. I think it's fine. The most important, I think, how you translated all your energy in the project. It means like, because you were feeling that you wanted to change your life, so you had a lot of feelings, that place where you were staying probably, it was not the right place for you. So the way how you read this, and then you manage to translate in something as a project, because you might be very creative and you have a lot of feedback from your travel, but then to make it puzzle and make a proper pattern of what you want to do, that was very great. Yeah. So I really like the way how you manage. You must be very practical person at the end of the day, because you can get lost during your travels or you're doing your research of yourself. So I like the way how you manage to say, I want to do this, and then at the end of the day you have a book of project. So this is very interesting. Yeah, this is congratulations. It's very inspiring.
Thank you so much. Actually, every project is an opportunity to learn.
Yes.
Just like any of our journey that we do, right? So every project is an opportunity to learn. I won't say we got it right from the start, right? So there's a lot of boo-hoo and a lot of funny things that happens along the way. And personally, I learned to forgive myself. I don't know if you all what it means. It sounds very emotional, but it's not meant to be emotional. But I feel that sometimes we face difficulties in challenges, right? Especially you stand to challenges, you're bound to make mistakes. You're bound to, I shouldn't have done that. But you need to move on. I think the perseverance is a very important factor of value to hold on to. And in order to do so, we need to forgive ourselves. What have I learned from this factor? And then let's move on. How can I do better next? So I think these personal conversations needs to be happening in yourself as a designer or wherever you are, in order to develop into angles. You don't have to do community work. I mean, whatever angle you want to achieve, right? But it doesn't stop us from challenging our status quo. When we learn to forgive ourselves, we will have the courage to try new things and continue.
On that, what's next for you? What is the next project? Are you going to another village, another remote area? So what's next for you?
So COVID has ended, so I couldn't stop. So I was speaking to Jan earlier. So last September, it was a project we were supposed to start before COVID. So we take time, and one of the things we do is we don't work with big NGOs. We work with communities directly. So we work with foundation groups that are bottom-ups. Because the belief is that the bottom-ups will know what's the best. And usually the bottom-ups are the ones who do not have capacity to go to the big NGOs to ask for what they want. So these are the groups who need support the most. So Rulos Committee or Roots Cambodia, the group they are called, is based in Siem Reap, about 45 minutes outside of Siem Reap, Cambodia. So it was something that we wanted to start before COVID, but because of COVID, everything hangs on. So we're checking with them last September how they're doing. Of course, they got it back because Siem Reap, if you know, they are based on tourism, most of the income. So no tourism, basically income is zero. And Roots Cambodia, just like many big-hearted people and communities I met, they started with wanting to help without a plan in mind. So Roots Cambodia is providing free English classes and IT, computer literacy for the local villages, 4 villages. But it all was stemmed from an ex-teacher who became a tourist guide from his own pocket money. So when he had no money, of course the school didn't run. So, but because of COVID, when we touch base with them, all the more they realize the importance of looking far for income capacity as part of the school planning. When we pitch to them, when I talk to them, say, what you need is not just school. You need an investable school that can self-sustain themselves financially as part of the entire education and operational curriculum. It's a bit cheap. I don't know if you all get it. I don't even know what the word investable school, I just came up with it. I don't even know if it exists or not. So a school usually is a negative cost in most countries because it's always sponsored by government. It's always negative cost. You can never make money from school, right? And if you can make money, usually a private school or training school or something, usually your students can pay. In this case, the students from community cannot pay one. So how can we make school system investable? That can spin on its own so that by the time we finish that school, they can really run on their own. And it's not just a skin we deliver and we feel shit and then we feel good about it and do move on. It's really being able to sustain the education and not have to repeat over and have COVID on our own again. So this is creativity and design thinking. So just a call to action. So just today, my company also launched a call for volunteers. We're looking for volunteers with professional expertise in especially investment packages, economists, venture capitalists, education systems planning, to join us for design workshops with the community in May, 28 to 30th May, at Siem Reap itself. So this whole entire design workshop, or we call it co-design workshop, will be together with future leaders from these communities. In other words, the young students who are in the school right now, becoming their future leaders, and the current teachers who are all volunteering, by the way, all the teachers are volunteering for the school, and also with the community leaders, and especially parents have a lot to say over there, who wants to bring change to their own children. So I think it will be a very experiential process for anyone who's keen to find out more. Limited spots available. Because we're sponsoring, we're also not getting paid for this whole thing, FYI. So another challenge is, how do I get my consultancy get paid for this whole process? We must move away from charity. If we cannot get ourselves paid, how can we expect projects that we develop get paid? Right, then we're just deceiving ourselves, right? So we have to start thinking about anything that's charity into social businesses. That is the forward to go, I think.
Just in Cambodia last week, in Siem Reap. No, sorry, Siem Reap, in Phnom Penh. And for a chance, I think was very, I'm surprised that you're talking about the same place. There is a school which is called, is a missionary school created by Don Bosco. And they do, there is a same donation. The students, they don't have money to pay the school. And it's only for from 16 to 18 years old, the children, and they learn mechanical, electrical works. So they go, if you have a chance to go, you can even
I mean,
the president of the school is a lovely person. He's a 75
that's the kind of story we should be learning from. There's a lot of bottom-up projects like that, started by the local people who understands the issues and systems on the ground.
So they only teaching proper work for the students so they can go to work directly. It's a technical school.
Yes, technical skill set. Actually, you made a good point. Actually, skill sets. We always think that education is about learning ABCs, but a lot of rural area, right? Skill sets have so much more capacity than learning ABC. Learning how to think is more important than learning your language. To me, learning how to think. Just learning language, the ABCs, I mean, may not get you that far, but learning how to think is what we need to get out from education. And then through their additional skill sets, whatever you're interested to do, in order to action your thinking process into something tangible. That is to me education.
I think we are going to reach the end of the talk. So, okay, let's bring this game. Okay, I will take yours. So thanks again, Trisha. This talk will be put online, so it will be on YouTube, on the YouTube channel of Cosentino. Once again, I would like to thank Cosentino for having us today. We look forward to the next talk that will be happening next month, so the 4th of this year. And once again, let's give a round of applause to Trisha for all of the work that she's doing and all of what you're contributing. So thanks again. Thanks a lot, thanks. Now we can have drinks and enjoy the food and the drinks. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming.